Hello and welcome to Wednesday's Wellness Tip. I'm Julie Crane and thank you for joining me today. So today we are continuing on in our little mini series Nutrition 101, and we're going to be talking about supplements. So I don't know what your history is with supplements. Some people love them. The industry oftentimes leaves the impression that you can get help from a bottle. And then there are others that feel like you should just be able to get the nutrition that you need from your foods. So we're going to kind of look at those today. So again, like I said, many companies promote what I believe is a mistaken impression that health comes from a bottle and that all you have to do is just take a bunch of supplements and you'll be healthy. But then again, on the other side of that, there are people who, I must admit, this is the group that I belong to, past tense, used to belong to, that believe that we can get everything that we need from the foods and that supplementation is unnecessary. So what I'm here to share with you today is that neither of these extreme views are correct, and both can be damaging to your health. So as I've researched and tried to learn about my own health issues, I just want to share some of the things that I learned about supplements. So for those of you that were like me, that believed that we got all of the nutrients from our food because, really humans have stayed healthy long before the idea of taking a supplement became popular or necessary. So why would there be a need to take a supplement now? Well, this is what I learned. Because things are not like they used to be. Instead of foraging in the wild, we are now browsing the shelves at our local grocery store. Instead of there being these small family farms who really cared and took care of the ground and rotated their crops, what we now have are large farmers that tend to overwork the fields and trying to stretch out, the life of the soil by adding chemicals back into the soil. So the farming version of enriching or fortifying is this use of chemicals and nutrients being put back into the soil. So if you recall, a while back in our Nutrition 101, we actually talked about fortifying and enriching and what that actually meant, because we see that a lot and it's really promoted as something that's supposed to be wonderful, right? Our breads are fortified with, vitamin D and calcium. Milk is fortified. Orange juice oftentimes you'll see is fortified. And so there are many foods in which they promote this being fortified and enriched. But the reality of what that means is that because of the processing of that food, they've stripped it of all of its natural vitamins and minerals. And in order to provide any kind of nutrition for that food, they have chosen to put some of those nutrients back into the food. And some of that actually came about because of the government requiring it. But the challenge is when they put the vitamins and minerals back in the food or fortify them or enrich them, is they're actually using a synthetic version of those nutrients, which is a very poor version of what was once, found in that natural version of the plants. So in addition to modern farming practices, the other things that affected the nutrients in our food are the food processing. It has very negatively affected the nutrient value in our foods. So factors such as smog, use of pesticides, the depletion of the soil. Oftentimes plants are harvested prior to them being ripe. There's blanching, cooking, homogenizing, milling, canning, and other processing methods that further deplete the precious nutrients that are naturally in the foods. So these nutrient deficiencies then again carry into the food that we eat. So chances are, even though you're eating this beautiful, colorful salad, it really isn't forking over the nutrition that you might expect. And did you realize that it only takes one nutrient deficiency in order to damage your entire metabolism? Wow, one nutrient deficiency. So some conditions that are created just by minor deficiencies in nutrients happen when we're deficient in vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin D, magnesium, chromium, and calcium. So if you're deficient in any of those, oftentimes this can lead to a large amount of health issues. Now, signs that you might be experiencing a nutrient deficiency include things like having low immunity. So if you're catching every cold that comes along and your immune system is not functioning properly, oftentimes that's due to a nutrient deficiency. Things like fatigue and depression are often the result of nutritional deficiencies. Weight gain, heart disease, cancer, and more. So the most common nutrient deficiencies that are seen in Americans are calcium, folate, iron, magnesium, potassium, vitamin D, vitamin B12, vitamin E, and vitamin K2, and zinc. So studies that have come out of many sources, including the Journal of American Medical Association, actually shows that 9 out of 10 Americans have essential nutrient deficiencies. Wow, that should really kind of blow your mind. 9 out of 10 Americans, let me repeat that, 9 out of 10 Americans have essential nutrient deficiencies. And this can even happen to those that are as young as in their 30s. And I really wouldn't be surprised if we don't see that age drop more and more as children are raised on processed foods and with the types of foods that we have available, that we're going to see more issues with this. So this is not just a problem of people that are older. Again, seen in ones as young as in their 30s. So there was a large study that was done in 2010 by the International Society of Sports Nutrition. And what came out of this study was that it was found that in order to get 100% of the recommended daily allowance for your vitamins and minerals, and remember we've talked about this before, the recommended daily amount by the government is actually just the minimum. So again, in order to get 100% of the minimum amount of vitamins and minerals that your body needs, an individual would have to consume over 27,500 calories worth of food in a day. 27,500 calories. So if that doesn't mean a lot for you, just know that most people tend to eat between 12 to 1,500 calories, maybe up to 2,000 calories at the most. And what we're talking about here is 27,000 calories a day, which would actually result in you gaining about 3 pounds of fat a day. So, wow, who wants that, right? Nobody. And so there are things that you can do and dietary changes that you can make that will help improve your nutrient level. And that is the first thing that I would recommend, is start choosing those foods that contain more nutrients. So instead of eating processed, fast food type products that have no nutrients, is choose to have more raw, healthy fruits and vegetables. And again, eating less of the processed, packaged, or cooked foods. That's the best thing that you can do. But even doing that, as shown by this study, you are still going to end up with some nutrient deficiencies. But the better choices you make that will, improve your health and your well-being will actually minimize the amount of supplementation that your body's going to need. So if you're making unhealthy choices, your body is going to need a lot more supplementation in order to function properly. Now, supplements are needed to replenish and restore the nutrients that are missing in our foods to help support our healthy body functions. I think that's something that we can just take away from this. But the important thing to understand, and this is the second key point, is that not all supplements are created equal. You know, the supplement industry has been around for about more than 100 years now. And companies have gone out of their way to try to make sure that supplements are more affordable. But what we need to realize is that this came with a cost to the quality and the efficacy of the product. Now, the USDA study showed that over 70% of Americans take a multivitamin. So almost 3/4 of Americans are already taking a multivitamin. But yet the AMA still concluded that almost all Americans are deficient in minerals and vitamins. Well, how can that be? How can it be that 70% of people are already supplementing with a multivitamin, and yet studies show that they are deficient in vitamins and nutrients? Well, this is because people are taking multivitamins that are comprised of synthetic ingredients. So remember, synthetics are chemically based, basically created in a lab. So they're not natural based. So our bodies don't recognize synthetic or chemical ingredients as anything that's useful. And even worse, synthetics are almost always incomplete versions of the real deal. So when we purchase a vitamin that is synthetic, oftentimes it's only a portion of what the natural vitamin really is. And then our bodies have to go to other places within the body to find what else is needed in order to fill the gap, because the vitamin is not complete. So to help you understand what I mean, let's take vitamin C as an example for this. Now, good sources of natural vitamin C come from citrus fruits, right? Oranges, grapefruits. And the complete chemical form of natural vitamin C consists of 4 things. Consists of rutin, J and K factor, bioflavonoids, and ascorbic acid. So those are the 4 components of a natural vitamin C. Now, when you look at a typical synthetic version of vitamin C, it will contain only 1 component of that, and that's the ascorbic acid. So when you take something like that, your body has to provide the rest of those components. So again, the rutin, the J and K factor, and the bioflavonoids in order to be able to use that synthetic supplement. Now, synthetic ascorbic acid is actually nothing more than corn syrup and hydrochloric acid. Do you realize that? They take corn syrup and hydrochloric acid and they put it through about 9 steps of processing and ultimately come up with what they call ascorbic acid. And not 1 drop of citrus was ever involved in that process. If you look at the label on any vitamin C product on the market today, you will most likely see ascorbic acid as one of the main ingredients. So an example of that would be a couple of products like this, which people commonly use when they have colds or when they think they're going to get colds. But if you actually look at the back of these contain ascorbic acid amongst a bunch of other things that have nothing to do with vitamin C. So contrary to what most health and supplement companies, you know, those promoting these, what they want you to believe is they want you to believe that ascorbic acid is vitamin C, but it is not. It is not. It's only a small fraction of vitamin C. So again, like I mentioned, this incomplete form actually forces the body to use its own reserves to complete it. And what this does is it actually depletes the vitamin C from the body and can cause arterial walls to thicken and other fatal effects. So in one study that was cited in the Los Angeles Times, research showed that consuming vitamin C synthetic supplements in the form of ascorbic acid may actually lead to heart disease. I also kind of wanted to mention this. I'll put my finger over what this is, but this is basically one of those what I call boutique type vitamin preparations. This is one that is promoted by a doctor, and it's promoted, you know, online, and you might have seen commercials on it on YouTube and stuff talking about how wonderful it is. It's quite an expensive one, more than what you would buy in the typical grocery store. But then when I look at the back at the ingredients, guess what's in there? Ascorbic acid. So you not only, so you just can't always depend on paying something like a high boutique or some promoted thing like this from a doctor to assume that it's going to be the best for you, because cost does not necessarily equate to quality. And this is why it's so important that you look for a supplement company that uses whole food forms of vitamins and minerals. And you want them to be in the form that is chelated. Now, chelated, what that means, the scientific term is for bound to an amino acid. So it's bound to a protein molecule that's been broken down into the amino acid. And when you have a whole food form of vitamin C, which is what we have with this company, this acts as an antioxidant, so it's going to fight against free radicals. It will assist in collagen formation, so it's great for the skin and reducing, you know, wrinkling. It will boost your immune system. And vitamin C is also necessary for the synthesis of stress hormones, so it will help you with stress. So I'm going to include a link in the description to this wonderful whole food vitamin C product. You know, and this is something everyone needs right now during this time of year when colds and flu are rampant, to help boost your immune system. So I would recommend that you give your immune system a boost with this real, so this is real vitamin C by Optimal Health Systems. Optimal Health Systems is a holistic health company, and it's one of the few long-established supplement companies that have not sold out to pharmaceutical conglomerates. So you may not realize it, but most supplement companies are actually owned by pharmaceutical companies. There are very few that are not connected to pharmaceutical companies anymore. And so this explains why there's the use of these synthetic or non-natural chemical-based vitamins, because that's what they create. So, and the other thing to remember is when we're using a synthetic or a non-natural chemical-based vitamin, is not only do they cause the issues that we've talked about, but they can actually have drug-like side effects. So, with the thousands of supplements out there, how do you know what you need? That might be a question that you're asking. Well, there's really only 4 things that everyone needs, no matter who you are. And next week, I'm going to share these with you. All other supplements are generally boiled down to if you have genetic or lifestyle factors or high levels of stress. So join me next week where I'll share with you what those 4 things are that everyone needs. And remember, if you choose not to take time now for your wellness, you'll be forced to take time later for your illness. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.